AITA for following my dad's harsh Christmas text and letting a lawyer handle the fallout? My name is Lauren. I am 28 years old, and I am a sergeant in the United States Air Force. Until recently, I was also the daughter who sent half her pay home because I thought that was how a family worked. After several years of service, I was sent on an assignment to Germany, where I had already been for a year. I had not seen my family in person for almost 4 years. Not because I did not want to, but because you reach a point where you get tired of crossing half the world just to feel like a guest in your own home. Still, this year I got my hopes up. Sounds absurd, I know. You would think someone trained to anticipate risks would know by now to stop betting on people who are never there when you need them. But before I am a soldier, I am human, and humans hope even when it is not wise. When they approved my leave for December, I was genuinely thrilled. I had not spent a Christmas at home since I joined the Air Force. I imagined my mom being moved to see me arrive. I pictured a place for me at the table. I pictured my dad offering me a beer without making it awkward. I even naively thought my sister might ask me how I was instead of starting in again about her car or money problems. I bought a non-refundable flight, as if I truly believed in miracles. I sent a message to my mom. My leave was approved. I will be home for Christmas. I cannot wait to see you all. She replied with a heart. Not a word, just a red heart. I made an effort not to overthink it. Seriously, I did. For a few days, I let myself believe that maybe this time would be different, that I would return to a warm home. Not that old tension that always hung in the air when I was around. That the people I had been helping with money for years might, just for once, actually want to see me for me. 12 days before Christmas, my phone vibrated while I was in the base kitchen, midway through a cold, tasteless protein bar. It was the message from my dad. Christmas will be better without you. Do not come. I stared at the screen for a long time. 2 minutes later, one came in from my sister. You are just going to make everything awkward. Better not to show up. That one hit harder. Not because she had ever been warm, but because it sounded like the kind of text you send to an ex, not your own sister. I did not argue. I did not ask why. I just replied, understood. I would like to say I felt nothing, that I was used to it, but that would be a lie. One of those lies you tell yourself to be able to sleep. Yes, it hurt. Not in a dramatic way, not with melodramatic tears. It was that quiet way something inside you shifts and you know it will never go back to its place. And then came something else. It was not exactly anger, nor was it revenge. It was clarity. That night, I logged into all the accounts and services where my name was still involved, even if no one mentioned it. The utility account for the house, which I had been covering while they got back on their feet for the last 3 years. My sister's car insurance, which was still being charged to my card since she lost her job. And above all, the portal where a part of the house's mortgage payment was made each month, a payment I had contributed to for years, even though the house was not even in my name. I was not an owner, but I had helped keep that house afloat when my dad lost his steady job at the manufacturing plant and they could not make ends meet on their own. Since then, I had become the silent support that no one thanked, but that everyone took for granted would always be there. Between fixed payments, transfers, and automatic charges, several $100s left my account each month for that house, without anyone ever acknowledging it. So I made a few quiet changes. First, I canceled the automatic transfers. Then I sent a formal email to the mortgage servicer, stating in writing that I would no longer be contributing, and that all future communication should be directed to the primary account holder, my father. The person who assisted me on the phone asked in a careful tone, "Are you sure? The payment is due this week, and this could affect their credit standing and might force them to make other arrangements." I closed my eyes for a second. Yes, I am sure. Then I did something I could not quite explain even to myself. I still took the flight back. Yes, I know. They had told me not to come. They had made it crystal clear. But the ticket was already paid for, and maybe there was a sad, stubborn part of me that needed to see the end of this chapter with my own eyes, even if I never set foot in the house. I landed 2 days before Christmas as evening fell. The drive from Phoenix Sky Harbor Airport to our neighborhood in Glendale felt longer than usual, between the traffic on the freeway, the fatigue, and that familiar city hum you recognize even with your eyes closed. I did not rent a car. I took a taxi straight to a budget hotel in Glendale, One of those functional places with cold hallways, thin curtains, and a bedspread that never looks quite clean. I sat on the edge of the bed and stared out the window at a city I knew by heart, but that no longer felt like mine. The lights on the palm trees, the shopping plazas, the cool December air, the same rush, the same noise. But I did not feel like a part of it. I felt like someone who had stayed too long in a life where I no longer fit. I did not go to the house. I did not text again. I just waited. The next morning the phone would not stop ringing. 7 missed calls. 3 from my dad, 2 from a blocked number, 1 from my sister, and another from a number I did not recognize until I checked the voicemail. Miss Lauren Hayes. This is attorney Stephen Brooks. I am an acquaintance of your family, and I am looking into the issue of the house mortgage with them. They inform me that you have withdrawn the financial support related to that payment. They are concerned. I would like to speak with you before this generates more complications. Complications? I repeated under my breath. Now they were concerned. Not when I was sending money from Germany, not when I missed birthdays, Christmases, and entire years of my own life, not when I became the person who solved problems from a distance. Now, I did not call him back. I ordered cheap takeout, closed the curtains in the room, and let the silence envelop me. I was officially home for Christmas, just not in a house where they could see me. And for the first time in years I felt something I had almost forgotten: control. I do not remember the exact first moment I understood I was the outsider in my own family. There was not a big scene, no get out of here. It was slower, a sum of small moments where they made it clear, with a smile, a forgotten detail, or a phrase disguised as nothing, that I was useful but not central, present but not important. I was 8 when my sister Danielle was born. She arrived red, crying, and perfect according to my parents. My dad called her the blessing of the house. That phrase always made me wonder what I was then. The trial run, the one that came before. I was a quiet child. Not weird, not withdrawn, just quiet. I read a lot, arranged my toys in perfect rows, got good grades. I did not cause trouble, and in my family, not causing trouble was equivalent to not receiving attention. My dad, at that time, was a supervisor at a manufacturing plant. He had a strong voice, a big laugh, and an opinion on everything. He was one of those men who believe emotion is only valid if it comes out as a shout or anger. If I cried, he would tell me to stop it. If I was quiet, he would say I was being dramatic. If I got angry, he would make fun of me. My mom, Martha, was softer, but in a blurry way, as if she was always there, but never completely. She would forget about school meetings, mix up my schedule, and sometimes not even pack me a lunch. But with Danielle, she remembered everything. Her school events, her cravings, her friends, her tastes. I do not think they did not love me. I think they did not see me except when something went wrong. At 16, I got a part-time job at a gas station. I saved every dollar. I had this fantasy of buying a used car and leaving. I did not know where to. I just wanted to feel that the world was bigger than that house. A month later, my dad asked to borrow my savings to fix a leak in the roof. The roof stayed the same, but Danielle's sweet 16 party had music, a dessert table, and cupcakes. I joined the Air Force at 19. No one stopped me. My dad said, "I figured as much." My mom cried, but it felt like she was just playing a scene she was supposed to. Danielle said nothing. I think she always thought I would eventually come back to revolve around them anyway. The training was tough, but for me it made sense. There were rules, there were consequences. If you worked hard, you advanced. If you delivered, you counted. For the first time in my life, I felt like I occupied a real place. Meanwhile, back home, everything was the same or worse. I just found out about it late. I learned my dad had lost his full-time job because I saw a Facebook post from my mom asking for support. She had posted an account number and a sad sentence about how difficult everything was. That was the first time I made a large transfer. Nearly $2,000. I did not even think about it. I logged into my bank and sent it. My dad did not say thank you, he just wrote, "That covers this month. Let me know when you can send more." After that, it became routine. The electricity, the water, the internet, the car insurance, part of the monthly mortgage payment. There was always a reason, always a sigh from my mom, always a phrase from my dad that turned my help into an obligation. It is not forever. You are the only one who is doing well. Your sister is figuring things out. Danielle, meanwhile, worked seasonal jobs and was getting herself sorted. At 22, she crashed her second car. I paid the deductible and helped her get a used SUV. She sent me a one-word text. Thanks. A month later, she posted a photo and wrote, "When you work hard, you earn your things." I did not say anything. I took a screenshot and saved it in a folder on my laptop called Unpaid Debts and Unsaid Things. The last Christmas I truly tried to spend with them was almost 4 years earlier. I arrived at the house and they barely looked up. My old room was now a storage closet. I slept on the couch. During dinner, my dad raised his glass to Danielle, the one who is actually here. I said nothing. I barely ate. The next morning there was no gift for me, just a mug that said, "The Airman's Grinch." They all laughed. My mom said it was a joke. I smiled because that is what you do when you have become the punchline. After that visit I stopped going back, but I kept sending money. I kept answering calls. I kept putting out fires, only now something inside me began to close doors, one by one in silence. And still this year I had hope. I thought that maybe they had changed. I thought I could arrive in Glendale, knock on the door, and for once they would be happy to see me. Not because I solved something for them, but because it was me. It was a foolish hope, but hope does not ask for permission. It just shows up. Sitting in that hotel room, with the noise of the avenue seeping through the window, I thought about everything. The missed birthdays, the diverted paychecks, the parts of myself I had buried to keep the peace. I thought about how I had prepared myself for difficult environments, yet I could not even walk into my own living room without clenching my jaw. I thought about the time Danielle told me I was too intense, because I did not laugh at a video making fun of a veteran. I thought of my mom telling me, "Of course we love you. We just do not know how to show it." As if love were a riddle and I was the fool for not knowing how to solve it. And I understood something that was both painful and liberating. I was not part of that family. I was financing it. The calls continued over the following days. First, there were only a few. One from my dad, a voicemail from an unknown number, a call from Danielle close to midnight, the kind already loaded with dramatic intent. I did not answer. Not out of spite, or at least not only for that reason. It was more because I no longer owed them my urgency. I was no longer going to drop everything every time a familiar number appeared, just to rescue people who only remembered me when something was broken. Then came the second wave. 7 missed calls before noon. The house landline, my dad's cell, Danielle's, and once again the lawyer's office. That last one did make me pause. I sat on the hotel bed with a coffee in my hand, staring at the screen as if the name itself would explain something to me. In the end, curiosity won, and I played the message. "Miss Hayes, attorney Stephen Brooks again. I am informed that you suspended your contributions to a residence where your parents were staying current on their payments thanks to that support. They are very upset. I would like to speak with you before this escalates." Escalates, I repeated. Yes, like one's self-respect. I did not call back. I had no desire to be wrapped up in guilt again. I knew that game by heart. They use soft words for pressure they call habit a duty, and they expect you to give in before they have to hit rock bottom. Instead, I went for a walk. It was cool. That kind of December weather in the valley that does not sting your face but seeps into your shoulders. The streets were as I remembered them, lined with shops and cars, full of familiar sights. The city had not changed that much. I passed by a donut shop where I used to buy cheap donuts on Saturdays as a teenager. One time, Danielle shoplifted from a nearby store, and I was the one who rode my bike halfway across the neighborhood to bring her back before my dad found out. She repaid me by not speaking to me for a week because, according to her, I had ruined the vibe. I let out a sad little laugh, the kind that barely escapes before deflating in your chest. When I got back to the hotel, the receptionist told me, "You have been getting a lot of calls. Are you famous or something?" I went up to my room. That night, I did what someone tired of holding themselves up with sheer force does. I opened a small bottle of cheap whiskey I had bought at a convenience store and sat in the dark watching training videos on my laptop. Not because I missed any of it, but because they reminded me of who I was when no one was using me. Around 1 in the morning, the tone of the messages changed. Until then, it had all been anger and bewilderment. "What is wrong with you, Lauren? You cannot just abandon your family." We needed that money. Then the calculated phrases began. Your mother has been crying all day. Your father is in a very bad way. You have made us look bad in front of the whole family. You are killing them with your silence. I raised my glass to the ceiling. To emotional manipulation, I thought. The old classic. Aged for years. I almost caved. Not because I believed them, but because that is what they had trained me for since I was a child. To soothe, to solve, to carry. But then I remembered something a superior once told me. The silence you maintain sometimes says more than anything you could explain. So I maintained it. On the morning of the 24th, the messages reached another level. Bible verses from my mom. A post from Danielle that read, "Some people forget who helped them when they had nothing," accompanied by a photo of the three of them in the living room next to the tree. There were 3 ornaments with names on them. Mine was not there. And that is when I broke my silence. Not with a call. Not with a lengthy text. With a post. I uploaded an album to Facebook with a short title. Just so we are clear. I did not write a long explanation. Just receipts. Bank transfers, utility payments, insurance transactions, contributions to the house. Dates, amounts, screenshots. No commentary, no insults. Just the records. The reaction was not instantaneous, but it began to build within hours. First came private messages from cousins I had not seen in years. Is it true you were paying for all that? They always said you had grown distant and stopped helping. We had no idea. Then others started chiming in. My mom's account went silent shortly after. My dad changed his profile picture to one of him fishing, a classic move of his, hiding behind another image. Danielle posted something about people who live for drama. I did not reply. I just paid for one more night at the hotel. At 6:30 in the evening, I received a voicemail from my dad. You went too far, Lauren. You humiliated us. I do not even know who you are anymore. You used to be loyal, now you are cruel. You have ruined Christmas. That sounded almost offensively ridiculous. I was not even invited. At 7:10, Danielle wrote, You have made your point. They are beside themselves. Mom will not eat. Dad is talking about selling the house. Are you happy now? No, I was not happy. But I was being honest with myself for the first time in a long time. I stared at the screen, started to type a reply, then deleted it. Then I just sat there again with the silence. And in that stillness, I understood that I was no longer waiting for them to understand me. I was learning to stop explaining myself. I did not reply to Danielle. On Christmas morning I woke up and finally there was nothing. No calls, no threats, no guilt wrapped in family messages. Just the hum of the room's mini fridge and a blinking light on the phone. A new voicemail from an unknown number. Played it. Miss Hayes, attorney Stephen Brooks again. I have spoken with your parents. Emotions are running high. They want to see you in person. No pressure. Perhaps a calm conversation could help resolve this. Resolve what? I thought. 10 years of manipulation? The habit of treating me like a bank? Still, something in me was curious. I replied with a place and a time. Tomorrow 6 in the evening. A coffee shop in Peoria. Table in the back. Neutral ground. Public space. Less chance of a scene, or at least they would have to keep their voices down if they decided to make one. I did not tell them I would not be coming to that conversation entirely alone. That same afternoon, I sent a message to my Uncle Jeffrey to let him know where I would be, more as a precaution than anything else. He replied curtly, as always. Let me know if you need anything. I arrived 10 minutes early and ordered a coffee. Nothing to eat. I did not trust my stomach to cooperate. The place was quiet, Christmas lights still hanging, cups clinking, a television on at low volume. The drive from Glendale was relatively short, as the morning traffic had subsided, though the city still felt heavy. I chose a table where I could see the entrance. 6:03 they walked in. My dad in a stiff jacket, his face hard. My mom clutching her purse as if she might fall. Danielle, wearing dark sunglasses indoors, either for effect or because she had been crying. They sat down without a greeting. My dad began. We do not want this to get any worse. My mom followed in that fragile voice she always used when she wanted to play the victim. We are a family. We have all said things we did not mean. Danielle adjusted her glasses. But posting private things online was really low, Lauren. Even for you. I leaned back in my chair. Even for me. That is interesting. My dad's eyes narrowed. You humiliated your mother, your sister, and me. I took a sip of coffee. No, you did that to yourselves. I just stopped covering for you. Danielle's sunglasses slipped down a bit. Her eyes were red. You did not have to cut us off like that. No, I interrupted her. The house I helped support. The same house I was not allowed to come to for Christmas. Do not tell me this was about logistics. My dad slammed his hands on the table. We came here to fix this. But if you are going to keep playing the victim. No one is playing anything, I said. I just stopped paying to be erased. I pulled a thick organized folder with dividers from my bag. Since we are here, let us be clear. I pushed it to the center of the table. Inside were the records of every transfer, every payment, the history of Danielle's car insurance, utility statements, and yes, screenshots of messages they preferred to pretend never existed. My mom turned pale. My dad turned red. Danielle pressed her lips together with a force that no longer seemed like anger, but fear. We never asked you for all that, my mom said in a low voice. You did not have to, I replied. You did not ask. You expected it. My dad hit the table with his hand. And you think this makes you better than us? No, I said. It just means I am no longer blind enough to keep paying people who treat me like a burden. Danielle took off her glasses. You are being cruel. You are doing this to your own family. Family works both ways, I told her. I have been walking this road alone for years. Then the little bell on the door chimed. This time I did look up. Not entirely surprised, just confirming what I had imagined as soon as I saw him walk in. My Uncle Jeffrey arrived, leaning on his cane. He was still tall despite his age, with completely white hair and that clear gaze that had always disarmed me more than any hug. He wore an old coat and an expression that froze the entire table. Well, he said calmly, what an atmosphere. My dad shot to his feet. Jeff, I did not know you were around. You never know anything about anyone, my uncle replied. That has always been your problem. Then he looked at me. Lauren, good to see you. He turned back to them. I have heard about the lawyer's messages, the public drama, and how you have decided to treat this young woman. You were always very good at acting. Robert, my dad, opened his mouth. Nothing came out. My uncle's appearance was not out of the blue. A year before, when I had a few days off, instead of going to my parents' house, I went to see him in surprise. He had had a health scare, and no one wanted to stay with him for more than the bare minimum. I helped him clean, fixed a few things around the house, took him to his appointments. We talked for hours. He never asked me for $1. He never made me feel like I was in the way. From then on, we spoke more often, infrequently but genuinely. My uncle placed a hand on the table. When Lauren was with me last year, she asked for nothing. She helped without making a fuss. She was there when no one else showed up. She was the only one who spoke to me as if I were still a person. My mom tried to say something. He raised his hand. No. You have all spoken more than enough. Then he reached into his coat and pulled out a sealed envelope. He placed it in front of my dad. This is a copy of my updated will. I signed it 2 weeks ago. Danielle leaned forward. My uncle continued speaking with a calm that was heavier than a shout. The house, the property, and my savings will go to Lauren. The table fell silent. Danielle was the first to react. That cannot be serious. It can be, my uncle said. And it is. My dad looked like he was carved from stone. You are cutting us out. I am cutting out what has been rotting for years, he replied. And before you start, no, there is nothing to contest. Everything is signed, notarized, and in order. Then he looked at me. I should have done this sooner. Forgive me for taking so long. My throat felt tight. You are right on time, I told him. My uncle nodded. He did not stay to make a spectacle. He just turned and walked out with his slow, steady pace, his cane tapping with each step on the floor. I stood up and left a few bills next to my cup. Thank you for coming. My mom blinked rapidly. Lauren, please. You already made your decision, I said. This is mine. My dad let out a bitter half laugh. So you are just going to leave? After everything we did for you. I looked him straight in the eye. You did not do anything for me. What you did was hurt me for years. And I am done. I left. That night, back in the hotel, I received one last message from Danielle. I do not know who you are anymore. I did not reply, but I said it to the empty room. Someone who finally learned how to leave. Several months later, I was standing in the living room of my Uncle Jeffrey's house in Surprise, surrounded by boxes, papers, and old furniture, feeling something I had not remembered in a long time. Stillness. Not that heavy silence laden with guilt I was used to. Not the kind where you know a complaint is coming. True stillness. Peace. I requested another leave of absence when the most difficult part of the legal process was underway. The law firm handled the transfer in an orderly fashion. There were no fights, no contests. Much of the documentation had been settled beforehand, which helped everything move faster than normal. In the end, the change became official. Someone who had truly seen me had decided to leave me something, and I finally understood what it means to be truly seen. The house was modest, old, and quiet, with a backyard and an orange tree in the back. But it was mine. And not because I had earned it by enduring, not by blood or guilt, but because one person decided I deserved something better than just surviving. I left a single photo on the living room shelf. My Uncle Jeffrey and me in his backyard, the last time I was with him. We were laughing about something I cannot even recall. What I do remember is his face. Pride. The kind that does not make a sound. It is just there. I never spoke to my parents or Danielle again after that night in the coffee shop. A few messages came through when the news of the will got out, some pleading, others accusing. I blocked them all and I did not feel guilty. Not anymore. Blood does not give anyone the right to empty you from the inside out. Sometimes your family is what wears you down the most, and sometimes freedom begins the day you stop allowing it. I am not sure what I will do next. Maybe I will fix up this house little by little. Maybe one day I will do something useful with it for people who return from assignments and do not know how to set foot in the world again. Or maybe I will just live here for a while and learn what it feels like to exist without waiting for the next blow. Whatever happens, I am not looking back. If this whole experience left me with anything, it was the understanding of a very simple truth. Some people only want you around as long as you are solving their lives for them. And there are others who wish you well, even if they get nothing out of it. Took me years to learn the difference, but I learned it. Comment. This story really stayed with me and I wanted to share some thoughts with you. Learning to set healthy boundaries has been one of the most important lessons in my own life. Your self-respect should never be up for negotiation. It's okay to choose peace, even when it means stepping away from old patterns. True healing starts when we stop trying to fix what was never ours to carry. Be kind to others, but never forget to be kind to yourself first. Taking responsibility for your own well-being is an act of courage. I hope this encourages you to reflect on the relationships in your life right now. You deserve to be surrounded by people who genuinely value you. Let's keep choosing ourselves with love and strength every day. If you liked it, don't forget to leave a comment and support the channel by subscribing. See you in the upcoming stories.